It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or young or old or rich or poor, able, disabled, gay or straight. You can make it here in America if you're willing to try.
President Obama's rousing election night victory speech telling the nation and his broad coalition of voters that he's ready to move America forward. Women, minorities, and young voters, they were all a huge component of the president's winning coalition. But what hasn't gotten much attention is the president's margin among the LGBT community. Exit poll data showing that 76% of voters who identify themselves as part of the LGBT community supported the president, 22% for Governor Romney. So where do Republicans go from here, that is? For more on that, we bring in Gary Gates. He's a distinguished scholar from UCLA Law School's Williams Institute, also the co-author of The Gay and Lesbian Atlas. Gary, it's great to have you on with me, and I know we had a chance to sit on a panel together recently and talk about this data. Now, in that discussion, we went over what the president in his first term has done as a signal to the LGBT community. One, signing a bill to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He stopped defending the Defense of Marriage Act. He enacted historic hate crimes legislation. What is a reasonable expectation for the LGBT community to expect in a second term?
Well, I think a lot of the work in the second term will likely be what we call on the regulatory side. So in additional new policies that the president can do without necessarily legislative support. So, for instance, an executive order that would ban discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in government contractors. And another issue that I'm very concerned about is data collection, so getting sexual orientation and gender identity questions on more federal surveys.
All right, so the study from Gallup, though, Gary, on the 2012 electorate found that the Democratic lost 1%, or Democrats lost 1% of self-identified liberals to the Independent Party, while 7% of conservatives chose to be independent over Republican. So as a starting point, what immediate policies can the right do, Republicans do, to stem that loss? I mean, because that's a big hemorrhage.
Well, I think in terms of LGBT people and the LGBT vote, I suspect that support for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act would go a long way. That tends to poll well above 80% in the American support in the electorate. And I think that's one big legislative effort that would go a long way to helping some of the lopsided support that the Democrats get among the LGBT community.
Gary, real quickly, former RNC Chairman Ken Mehlman, who was openly gay, wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today talking about Project Right Side, which is a new effort by him and others to get Republicans, people on the right who have been opposed to marriage equality, to come around. Do you think that they have, is 4 years enough time to do that? I mean,
well, I'm not sure that 4 years is enough. It's a tough road, but the stakes are, fairly high. If Governor Romney had won, say, half of the LGBT vote, he would have won the national popular vote, and he would have won Ohio, Florida, and Virginia in this year's race. So he would have been within 4 electoral votes of victory. So in close elections, the support of the LGBT community clearly matters.
Gary Gates, distinguished scholar from the Williams Institute at UCLA Law School. Gary, thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy your holiday. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so today we want to know why you are thankful. We got these tweets at